Hey everybody, Lorian here, back with another Lord's Mobile video, tips by Lorian. And let me click on this mystery box just for Lisa before we get started. Alrighty, and today I'm going to talk about Darknest Rallies. So I had some requests from some of the guild to explain Darknest Rallies, so that's what I'm going to do today. So we're going to jump right into it. So what I did is I went and I scouted out a bunch of Darkness already ahead of time, so you guys didn't have to watch. You're just waiting for that to happen. And let's see what we got. So first thing off the bat here is I see 3 troops. I don't bother with 3 troop types. It's not worth my time. Because there are more options, right? This is level 4. Okay, this is a 2 troop type. This is a very easy Darkness rally to win. So what we're looking at when we look at Darkness level 4s, because they're only level 4s, it's not going to be very hard. What we're looking at is the defenders. So what kind of troop types in there? And right now we're looking at infantry and cavalry, right? And so what we want to send here automatically is all cav. Reason: cav is going to counter guards, and there are no range in this nest, so we have no risk of being countered. And we have a good chance of countering, right? So this is an all cav nest, very simple. I don't bother with anti-scout. Okay, here's another one. This is an easy all cav. Okay, now this is a level 5 Darkness. When doing level 5 Darkness, I don't just blindly send. So I'll look at a couple factors. Right, the first thing I'm going to look at is the wall. I just want to see how much HP is this wall going to have. I'm looking at the traps, because at this point now, if the wall, say, takes like 5 seconds to go down instead of it instantly goes down, tier 4 traps hurt a lot more than T3 traps. So it matters. So I always look at it anyway. And then obviously I look at the troop types. So this is an all cav rally, not very complicated. Reason: there's no range. Right, can't be countered. Doesn't matter what their front line is going to be when it comes to this one. Here's another level 5. Okay, so this one's a little bit better of an example. So yeah, level 5, it's got a pretty beefy wall, it's got even traps, and we're looking at a 2 troop type send. Now this 2 troop type is a little bit more different than the other one, because the other one, it was easier, we just sent all cav. This one, you know, your initial reaction when you first start the game, or you first start doing nest, is you know that cavalry counters infantry. So you're thinking, okay, well this nest has over 2 million infantry in it, so clearly I should send some cav. But it's actually incorrect, and I will tell you why. So Darkness level 5, there's so many troops that you're not gonna outright kill all their troops. This is a morale battle. Okay, so it's whoever loses morale the fastest loses, right? So if you did send cav, any amount of cav on this march against this nest, and they had range in the front line, so they're in range phalanx, then your cav hits their range, you get countered, you auto lose. Nothing you can do about that one. You're just straight up gonna lose, especially if they're in range phalanx. So you're just like hoping, right, that they're in infantry phalanx. But even if they're in infantry phalanx, yes, your cav is going to hit their infantry, but their range is going to hit your cav. So it's like a wash. You're countering their cav, but they're countering your cavalry. So you countering them, they're countering you at the same time. It's a wash. So it doesn't make sense to send cavalry. Okay. So what do you send? You send all infantry. And the reason why you send all infantry is infantry hitting infantry is a wash. Nothing. Range hitting your infantry, you're countering them, so you're going to barely take any damage. And if they happen to be in range phalanx, meaning their range is in the front line, you're gonna win, straight up auto win. So when you do Darkness level 5, it's not so much about you countering them as much as it is about you not being countered. So don't counter yourself. That's the biggest thing when it comes to Darkness level 5s. Okay, so we'll go through one more as like a test rally. So these are all 3s. Okay, so give you like just, you know, answer in your head, you know, just by looking at this. This is a level 4. Okay, so not going to be too hard. But if you answered in your head that, well, they have a lot of guards, so I'm going to send cavalry, you would probably still win this one because it's only level 4. But if this was a level 5, and let's say that there was like some, maybe like 400,000 a range, then you're gonna lose if you send all cav, because if they happen to be in range phalanx, again, they're in range phalanx, you send cav because you think you're gonna counter their guards, but the cav hits the range tanks you and does damage to you, you end up losing the morale battle, right? Because it's you very rarely kill all the units in a Darknest or in a battle for that matter. Very rarely does the attacker ever straight up, kill everything. So you have to significantly outnumber them in order to do that. So it's a 2.3 million march versus a 2.3 million march. They're still going to have defenders at the end unless you're sending like all T4 against T3. So if you said infantry, that is the correct send. Okay, because if you send infantry, you cannot be countered. If you send cav, you could be countered by the range. If you send range, you're going to be countered by the guards. But if you send infantry on infantry is a wash, and infantry counters range. So infantry is the right send. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. That's the main thing. The first part of Darkness is what do I send? So that covers what do you send. The next thing we're going to touch on is champions. So champions matter, and there's a reason why they matter, and the reason why is this leadership type, this troop type. So Rose Knight is a cavalry champion, cavalry hero. Okay. So she can only command cavalry troops. So she's only active on the map so long as you have cavalry troops on the map. So in the battle, rather. Okay. So if you sent Rose Knight and it was in all infantry, she would be present on the battlefield and she would still give you your stats, your army stats, but she won't participate in the battle, meaning she's not going to use her ability. She's not going to hit the wall. She's just going to stand there. Okay, and that doesn't help you. You want her to be active. And the reason why you want her to be active in Darkness is this ability does a ton of damage to walls. Okay, and every hero has this ability. This 200% squad attack is damage to enemy troops ability. Okay, activates in battle. So it does a ton of damage to the wall. And that's why you don't ever need to send siege. Well, one, you don't have to send siege because siege is utterly useless. After it takes down the wall, it just sits there and does nothing. So if you send 50,000 siege, that's 50,000 less troops, and the morale battle will be even closer. Whereas it's not needed and necessary because as long as you send the right champions, the wall is going to go down fairly quickly. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So again, the troop type matters. So if I am sending a all cavalry Darknest Rally, then yeah, I would use Rose Knight because she's cavalry. I would use Night Raven because he's also cavalry, and I'd use Child of Light because he's also cavalry, and I'd probably use my Lore Weaver if it was gold, which it's going to be gold soon. So it's only 140%. So the 200% ability that they activate in the battle, it matters. Okay, does damage to troops, does damage to walls, and it can turn the tides of battle when it comes to morale because it does do a burst amount of damage. So don't underestimate sending the right heroes. Okay, you want to send the right heroes, and you want to, as much as possible, you want to send gold heroes. It's as long as they're active in the battle. Now that only matters up to 4. Okay, so what I mean by 4 is, like, say you're sending an all infantry rally. Let's go into the drill here and you can kind of see it. So you guys will just have to keep in mind. See how there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, if you didn't send anything else and you send all infantry, each one of those champions is attaching to a squad. So you can't have, it needs to have a squad in order to be utilized. So if I sent 4 infantry champions and Rose Knight, right? Rose Knight would be off to the side, not commanding an infantry squad, but at least these 4 would be active and they'll hit the wall and it'll be okay. Okay, when you run out of troops of that troop type, so if they kill all the cavalry and I have Rose Knight in there, what'll happen is she'll just stand there and she'll be stunned. So she's not going to be active in the battle doing any damage. And the main reason you want you want them there being active in the battle. So as much as possible, you want to send the right champions because you want them to be in the battle. They do damage. They're worth it. So that's a very common mistake. People don't send the right troops, the troop types. They're just thinking, well, I get the bonus 20% attack, so whatever. I'm just gonna send Bombing Goblin and Rose Knight, and I'll I won't send any range. They don't need to be active. Now, in some cases that does matter, but in terms of Darkness, you need them to be active to drop the wall. After you drop the wall, yeah, if they're not as active, not as big of a deal. But they still do significant damage to the enemy troops. So you want to aim towards sending the right champions, if that makes sense. Okay. The other thing after champions, obviously your war gear matters, right? So you want to make sure that what I do is I'm in my speed gear right now. So after my rally launches, so I can make sure it's getting there as quick as possible, and then I'll switch over to my war gear after that. Right, you want to be in war gear when you hit a nest. Okay, you need the stats. Okay, so that's going to be part of the next talk after, what to sending the right champions, putting on your war gear because of stats. Okay, if you don't have great war gear, doesn't mean you can't do nests. There are other ways to get stats. Research isn't one way to get stats. If you are going down into this tree, you could get this. Now, personally, I don't get it. I mean, I'll get it eventually because I need to get down to the other ones. But it's not as efficient for me right now because I'm trying to get the army stuff, these guys down here, right? The army defense and these guys. That's another 20%. So I'm not working on it currently. But the Darkness researches, they help. It's not like useless or anything. It does help. The other thing that helps is going to be your altar and your prison stats. So if you've got an altar, right now, if I charged it, I'd have 38% all these stats, right? 38% is a lot of stats. And if you add it on, you gotta get a one of these guys, the prisoners, right? That's another 23 or 30% depending on how high level you have them. So you're potentially looking at about, just under 70% army attack stats, right? That's a lot of army attack stats if you don't have the gear that you can obtain. The other thing you can do obviously is your talents, right? You shouldn't need to do your talents for level 4s. Yeah, for level 5s you're gonna need it because you're fighting against T4 and T4 traps and things of that nature. So naturally, you're gonna want as much stats as possible for doing level 5s. But level 4s, not so much. So if you are struggling with Darkness level 5s, you want to ask yourself a couple of questions. 1, what am I sending? Am I countering myself? 2, is the wall going down quickly? And if it's not, then maybe I'm sending the wrong heroes. Look at your heroes. 3, did I have war gear on? Okay. 4, do I have an alder boost? Do I have prisoner? And 5, am I in talents? Okay. Those are all the things you can do to help yourself win level 5s. Again, if you're doing level 4s, you don't have to be as extreme because level 4s are significantly easier than level 5s. Okay. So that pretty much covers Darknest Rallies. Lastly, I'm going to throw this in. One of my guildies asked me about familiar buildings. So basically the question was, how do I build them? What should I, how many should I put in? Train more gems, more this, more that. And it really depends on your strategy. For me, I want to max out all my guys. So knowing that I need to max them out is I'm going to have to build a lot of packs. And the springs reduce the merging pack speed by 20%. So I have a lot of springs to reduce that so that I can keep pumping out I can merge as much packs as possible. Because that's going to be my bottleneck. Obviously, I'm behind on training. There's so much training that I have to do that I have a lot of these guys just low level and they're not maxed out level. So if I had another gym, I could train them faster. But when I look at it and how long it takes, like this Territe, for example, I was building 1A pack for like forever trying to get this guy maxed out. And he's only at 56 of 80. And I've opened up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. So I know that packs are going to be my major bottleneck for familiar buildings. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. That's how I build, and that's why I build it that way. You can always change buildings, especially if you don't have any, like me, I don't have any construction to do because everything's already done. So I could swap back and forth if I wanted to catch up on training, but at the end of the day, like, I still feel the bottleneck is at packs. Okay. So if you guys have any questions on Darknest Rallies or on the familiar buildings or anything, or what you want to see on the next video, that's fine too. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know, and I'll be happy to make that video for you folks. And otherwise, I appreciate a like and a subscribe. And if you want to turn on that notification bell, then that'd be great. You'll know when my next Lord's Mobile Tip video comes out. And yeah, you guys have a great morning, great night, great afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. And I'll see you next time. Peace.